Okay, so we are starting on a new unit today, or a new chapter, excuse me. So we're on chapter 8.1. Okay, and most of this chapter is going to be dealing with some geometry stuff. Okay, so geometry stuff really isn't that bad. A lot of it might actually be reviewed for you guys. So we're going to talk about like area and volume and perimeter and stuff like that, surface area. But today we're going to work on volume of cylinders. Volume of cylinders. Now, I believe this should be review for you. Okay? Does anyone know what is the formula for the volume of a cylinder? First off, what does the cylinder look like? Can you give me something in real life that is a cylinder?
It's like a can.
It's like a can, okay? A can or like my roll of paper towels, okay? Yes, or my pencil cup would be a cylinder. Even foam prison is a cylinder, if it had the top on it. Okay, foam prison is a cylinder as well. Anybody else have anything else that?
Your cup?
A cup, right? Okay, but it would have to be. You couldn't really really count something like a Starbucks cup like that because it's not solid all the way on the sides. It goes out a little bit. Right, it has a slant. Okay, so anyone remember what is the volume of a cylinder? Actually, how do you know the difference between when something has an area and when it has a volume?
Three-dimensional.
Right. Area is when things are two-dimensional. Okay, so like something that's flat on your paper would have an area. Volume is when something is three-dimensional. Okay, so it's a little bit difficult to draw a cylinder or anything that's actually three-dimensional. But a cylinder, you basically do like a circle on the top and then a circle on the bottom and then connect them like this. I'm not obviously a very good artist. So then...
Great, you're the next Picasso.
Thank you. It's abstract, okay? And then you kind of make this dotted. Okay, so that's what technically what a cylinder is supposed to look like. Okay? In my cylinder, you need a couple of parts, okay? First, you're going to put a dot in the middle on the top. What is this called right here? The radius, right? Okay, so that's your R, that's your radius. Okay? What are the other important parts to know?
Oh, what's that called?
What's the side called?
The side?
The height?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Radius, height. And does anyone know how do you find the area of the base?
Oh, shoot.
Base is equal to, how do you find the area of a circle?
I forgot what's that.
We're not talking about volume, but what's the area of a circle? No, that's for like a rectangle.
Pi equals
Pi r squared. Okay?
I remember that.
So the volume, okay, volume of a cylinder is going to be three-dimensional, okay, and the volume of a cylinder is going to be equal to the base times the height. Okay, so the volume is equal to the base is pi r squared times the height. Okay, so to find the area of the base, you have to know what the radius is. To find the volume, you have to know what the height is, and you're going to multiply these all together. Okay, but that radius length is still very important. Okay, so this should be one that's fairly simple. Okay, I know you guys have done this before. I don't quite remember when, if it was 7th grade or 5th grade or sometime before that. I think it was probably in elementary school, but I don't know. Okay, so what we're going to first do is, first thing you need to know is, yes, you are going to be able to use a calculator. Okay, for sure. You will definitely be able to use a calculator. So, if we look at, okay, so for example, number 1, if I ask you to find the volume of the cylinder, and I'm going to ask you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay. The hardest part about finding the volume here is going to be the rounding to the nearest tenth. So if I ask you to round to the nearest tenth, how many decimal places should your answer have? 1 decimal. Okay, your answer should have 1 decimal in it. Okay, and I'm going to give you a cylinder. I'm going to try to give you a cylinder. And then my artistic abilities are a little lacking. Okay, so that's like really kind of sad looking. Okay, if you know that the radius length is 5.5 centimeters and the height is 9 centimeters. And if your drawings are not perfect, don't worry about it. Mine are obviously not very good, so you don't really even have to have a drawing, but you can if you want to. So I ask you to find the volume of the cylinder. Okay, remember, we already went over that volume is equal to pi r squared times h. So we're going to plug things in here, okay? You are actually not going to plug in pi yet. Okay, I want you to leave it written as just pi. Okay, so leave it written as pi. So we're going to do pi times what's your radius?
5.5.
5.5. And that's going to be squared. And what's the height?
9.
9. Okay, according to order of operations, what should you do first? According to order of operations, what should you do first?
Exponent.
The exponent. So you actually have to do the 5.5 squared, okay? If you use a calculator, that's fine. Or you could do 5.5 times 5.5. You could do that. Doesn't really matter if you use a calculator or if you just do it on your paper. But 5.5 squared gives you 30.25. Okay, so it's going to be pi times 30.25 times 9. Okay, now there is actually a button on most calculators, okay, not all of them, but pretty sure most of the ones that I have that you can borrow, there's a pi button. Okay, so sorry, there's kind of some bad glare. But there is a pi button, so you can multiply pi times 30.25 times 9. Okay, anywhere you'd like is fine. Multiply that all together and we get 855.298 and all these decimals, okay? What should you round that to?
855.30.
855 point what? 0.3, okay? Your answer should have 1 decimal place. Now, technically, what is the label here? Should be centimeters, but how many times did you multiply it together?
3.
3, because we actually squared this, okay? So it should be centimeters cubed, okay? Any kind of volume should always have its label to the 3rd power, okay? Because we did 5.5 centimeters times another 5.5 centimeters times another 9 centimeters. Okay, that's your answer. There you go, 855.3 centimeters cubed. So basically, if you can use the formula, you just plug things in, okay? This should be, I hope, fairly simple. Okay, let's try another one, number 2. Okay, again, I would like you to find the volume. Pretty much everything is going to be asking you to find the volume. Find the volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 12 meters and a height of 4 meters. And again, I'd like you to round to the nearest tenth. So how many decimal places should my answer have?
1.
1. Now, you don't have to draw a picture here, but I'm going to draw a picture because I think it's easiest to do these when I can see them, okay? So, we should be writing. Thanks. Okay, so I would draw a picture. Okay, you don't have to, but I would suggest drawing a picture. Okay, definitely we know that the height is equal to 4. Okay, you also know that the diameter is equal to 12 meters. What is diameter?
All the way across.
All the way across the top or the bottom. Okay, so if the whole thing is equal to 12, what is just half of it equal to?
6.
Right. So the radius is equal to 6 meters. Okay, if the diameter is equal to 12 meters, then halfway across is the radius. So you just cut it in half. The radius would be equal to 6 meters. Now, if we want to find volume, we know volume equals pi r squared times h. So you plug in. Pi times what's your radius?
6.
6, and you're going to square it, times your height is 4. So what would you do first there?
Exponents.
The exponents. So we're really going to do pi times 6 squared is 36 times 4. Okay. You don't have to, you can use a calculator for this. So we're going to use the pi button. I don't have to plug in 3.14. Okay, because technically pi doesn't ever end. Okay, there's a poster on the back that shows you all the decimal places of pi. It keeps going. But we don't have a poster that shows them all because it never ends. Okay, it's irrational. It means it never ends. It doesn't have a pattern. Okay, so it can keep going and going and going. How someone figured out what pi is, I have no idea. But they did. Okay, so we're going to do 36 times 4 times pi. Multiply that all together and we should get 452 point what? 452.3893.
4.
0.4. Okay, so 452.4, and what should my label be?
Meters.
Meters cubed, right. Okay, so make sure that label is on there. It is fairly important. Say it again. Okay. Questions on how I did that? No, you guys are pretty good on that? Okay. Let's see what else we really need to know today. You don't think we need to know anything else?
No.
No, I think you need to know 2 more things just in case. Oh my goodness, you guys are going to be just fine. Well, I want to make sure you know how to do all the problems on your homework today. No, you're going to do 2 more. I know. Okay, next thing I want you to do is, let's look at, okay, if I tell you a container of ice cream is shaped like a cylinder. Okay, a container of ice cream is shaped like a cylinder. It is 10 centimeters in diameter and 12 centimeters tall. Okay, and I want to know how long will it take to melt if it melts at a rate of 2.1 cubic centimeters, so centimeters cubed, every minute. I know this one's kind of long, sorry. Round to the nearest tenth. So I'm telling you, I have a cylinder of ice cream. You're gonna be okay. I know. I'm sorry.
No, you aren't. You're lying.
I feel bad that your hands hurt, that you're writing, but
So right, give us all like tips for the homework tonight, and we'll just
No.
call it a day.
no, it's okay.
Call
Thanks.
it a day.
No.
You will do your homework.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to know, so first you have to find the volume of the whole thing, okay? Then if you know how fast it melts, I'm going to figure out how long until the whole container melts. So first we need to find the volume. So how would you find the volume of this cylinder? What do you know?
The information.
10 centimeters is the diameter. So what is the part that you actually need to know though?
5 centimeters.
5 centimeters is the radius. So the volume of this is going to be equal to pi r squared h. Okay. What is the radius? 5. And what's the height?
12.
12. Okay, so you might want to label those. So pi 5 squared times 12. Okay, if you plug that in on a calculator, you're going to get pi times 25 times 12 is equal to a large number. So the volume is equal to 942 point what? Point
0.5.
0.5. Okay? So the volume is equal to 942.5 cubic centimeters. If you know that it takes, that every minute 2.1 centimeters melt, what do you do with these two numbers? Divide them.
Oh, I got it right.
Okay? So to figure out the rate, or excuse me, how long it would take to melt, you just divide them. So we're going to do 942.5 divided by 2.1. If you divide those, you should get 942.5 divided by 2.1. What does that tell me? 448.8.
It's just 0.8.
But what is that? 448.8 what? But this, so it takes 448.8. What?
Minute.
Is that seconds, minutes, hours?
Every minute.
Days.
This was minutes, okay? It said every minute. Okay, so 448.8 minutes. What if I asked how many hours that is?
Oh, shoot.
You'd have to do the math. Yes, thank you. Divide by what to get to hours? What do you divide by to get to? Thank you. You would divide by 60 minutes to get to hours. Okay, so it would actually be 7.5 hours. So just understand that you could be asked to find how many minutes, or you could figure out how many hours. Okay, it just kind of depends. So this is still finding the volume and then just dividing. So you actually have to know how to do the formula, but then use it. Okay, the last one I promise. Okay, last one. Let's see, for example number 4. I promise you'll be done. You will live. Okay, if I tell you that Tanya uses, hey, you know what? I just picked the name out of the book. Tanya uses cube-shaped beads. Cube-shaped beads to make jewelry. Really? Did
you say Dory?
Jewelry. We're not in Nemo. Thank you. Okay. Each bead has a cylinder-shaped hole through the middle. I would like you to find the volume of each bead. And I'm going to give you a picture. We're on number 4.
Do we have to draw a picture too?
You don't have to draw the picture, but you probably will want to. Okay, so first we're going to draw a cube. Okay, so she's making jewelry out of cubes. You can draw the picture if you want to.
Okay, I can try and do that.
You can try. Okay, so there's a cube-ish. Try to envision that that's a cube. Okay. Then in the middle of each cube is a cylinder. Okay. So in the middle of each cube is a cylinder. Again, Mrs. Kuhn is not a good artist. So if that doesn't look very good to you, you can look in your book and there's a picture. Okay. But basically, we want to figure out what's the volume of this cube. Okay. If I tell you that the diameter of this hole is 2 millimeters, the diameter is 2 millimeters, okay, and each side is 12 millimeters. Okay, and this is a cube shape. So basically what we have to do is we need to figure out the volume of the whole cube. Okay, you're going to have to figure out volume of cube and subtract, yes, and there's a cylinder inside. So kind of like if you were stringing, ladies, this will probably relate to you a little bit better, like stringing beads. There has to be a hole through the middle, right? Well, it's a cylinder shape, okay? It's like if you drill a hole through something, okay? It would be a cylinder shape. So you have to figure out the volume of the whole cube minus the volume of the cylinder. Can you guys visualize that kind of sort of? So think of kind of like a paper towel roll, okay? That would be a cylinder. If you want to find the volume of a paper towel roll, you do the whole cylinder minus the cylinder in the middle, right? This one has a cube, so it's a whole like square minus the cylinder that's in the middle. Okay, so that hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Probably not. So how do you find the volume of a cube? If something is a square shape, a cube shape, how do you find the volume of a cube? You don't know? Length times width times height. Okay, so length times width times height. Minus, what's the volume of a cylinder? That's the formula we just did.
Pi r squared.
Pi r squared h.
Okay, hold on.
So, what would be the length of this cylinder?
12.
12. What's the width?
12.
12. What's the height?
12.
12. It's a cube, so they're all exactly the same. Okay? Minus pi. What's the radius of this cylinder if the whole across is 2 millimeters? 1. Squared times what's the height? 12. So you actually have to do this math, okay? You will be okay. You can use the calculator, yes. So if you did 12 cubed, 12 times 12 times 12, you get 1728. Minus pi times 1 times 12 is equal to, yes, 1 squared is 1, yes. So this would be 1728 minus 699, rounded to the nearest 10, 0.7. So if you subtract that, you do 1728 minus 37.7, that's a 7, sorry. You should get 1690.3, and this is what? Millimeters, what? Cubic millimeters. So millimeters to the 3rd power. That's it. That's your answer, yes.
My hand hurts really
Okay.
bad.
You guys are way out of practice from writing, okay? I'm sorry that I made you write 2 whole pages.
Yeah.
So, homework for tonight. You guys are going to be working, oh my goodness, on page 593. You guys will be fine. You are doing numbers 1 through 6 and 10 through 19, okay? 1 through 6 and 10 through 19 on page 593. Today is Tuesday.